Not my story, but one that was told to me by my grandma before she passed in 2019. My dad is the second eldest of 4 sons, and when my grandma was pregnant with him, they lived in this old house. The house gave my grandma all sorts of negative feelings and horrendous night terrors. For some reason, this large, mature tree always seemed to be the focal point of her dreams. This spirit wanted her and my uncle gone, and they wouldn't leave. My grandma would hear creaking floors. She would see shadows all over the house. Heck, she once had a 40-pound bag of potatoes freeze solid in her pantry. Her pantry was in the centermost part of the house, so nothing in there should have froze, and literally only the potatoes froze. The nightmares of my uncle and herself getting hurt started taking a toll on my grandmother's health. And keep in mind, at this time my grandma was pregnant with my dad. One night she had a dream where my uncle was literally found dead by this tree that factored into most of her dreams. And the dream highly hinted at bad things happening to my grandma and dad had they have stayed. My grandmother had enough and took herself and my uncle and moved out. Nothing bad happened to them, but that house is something my grandmother never forgot. And she still recalled the dream vividly when she told me about it over 40 years later. And now sometimes we get spooked when we notice my grandma's spirit has come to visit, but at least we all know she means us no harm, unlike the entity of the house from when she was a young woman. This is something that terrified my sister and I when we were children. Of course, being children, we moved on from it in about an hour and played normally. But we never forgot the incident. Over the following years, we have each told various friends, etc. As a kid, I had all my toys up on a shelf in my bedroom. One of them was a barking dog toy. The robotic ones that bark and walk and flip over on a repeating loop. I'd had it for a long time and didn't use it anymore. My sister and I argued like cats and dogs. Whilst we got along sometimes, we had a tumultuous relationship and would very often have big fights that, to us, were quite serious. And we would both hold grudges against each other and sometimes not talk for days. One day in my bedroom, an argument sparked up between us. I can't for the life of me remember what it was about. Could have been anything. Anyway, the subject is not important. As usual for us, the argument escalated and escalated until the point where we were both very angry and we were screaming furiously at each other. At that point, the dog on my shelf came to life. It started barking and walking. Obviously, we both shut up immediately and stared at it in disbelief. The dog continued to move, yapping away until it walked right off the edge of the shelf and landed on the floor. It lay on its side as its legs continued to wiggle and it continued to yap for about 2 to 3 seconds. And then it stopped. I hadn't used the toy for a long time, so I had no idea if it was malfunctioning or something else. Even though we were both freaked out, my adrenaline was pumping, both from the arguing and the incident. I didn't really hesitate to go over and pick it up. It was at this point I noticed the battery compartment was empty. It was the only power source to the toy. You couldn't charge it or anything. Furthermore, the switch was in the off position. Upon saying to my sister, "It's switched off," we both freaked out and ran out of the room. We told our parents, but they really weren't interested. It never happened again, so we just moved on. We were never disturbed by the incident or anything. We just never forgot it. It suddenly popped into my head, so I thought I'd share it here. I know it's not the scariest or spookiest story, but it's always seemed like a paranormal activity to me. So I hope you enjoyed reading it. When I was a kid, about 6 or 7 years old, I experienced some kind of entity while with my best friend. Based on what I know now as an adult, I am pretty sure it was a demon. My first experience with it was when I went to my friend's house for a play date. When I got to her house, I went to her bedroom to look for her. The light in the room was off, but the one in the closet was on, so I looked there, and that's where she was. She was sitting on the ground talking as though she was playing pretend. I asked her what she was playing, to which she responded that she wasn't playing at all, but rather talking to a person in the closet. I remember she had a Barbie poster in her closet, so I asked if that's who she was pretending to talk to. She got kind of annoyed and said no again, and then got up, walked out of the closet, turned around and asked me why I was in there. It was like she didn't know any of what just had happened. This was strange behavior for her because she was usually extremely sweet and more thoughtful and caring than the average kid her age. She wasn't one to lie or try to hurt others' feelings. The next time we encountered something was when we were in her playroom. There was a bunk bed in there, and we would make a fort by hanging a blanket around the bottom bunk. We'd also turn the lights off to create an atmosphere of our game of dolls or whatever we were playing. The door to our room was closed, not locked. We were sitting there playing, and I happened to look up and see a shadow of a person moving behind the crack of the hung blanket behind my friend. I thought her mother had come in the room to talk to us. I told my friend, and she got this scared look on her face and asked me to turn on the light. So I got up and turned it on, and I noticed her mom wasn't in the room, like I thought. My kid brain didn't think ghosts, but also didn't think anything of it at all. I flicked on the light as my friend watched from her fort. As soon as I did, the doorknob next to me started turning back and forth, completely one way and then the other, and it was turning quickly and loudly, like someone was playing with it. If they wanted to push it open, they could. The door was unlocked after all. I remember waiting there for a minute, watching it in confusion and wondering if maybe her mom wanted to do this instead of knocking on the door for permission to come in. So I grabbed the knob while it was still going and pulled it open. Of course, I'm sure you all gathered that no one was on the other side. I went to the hall closet nearby to see if someone had hidden in there, maybe one of my friend's siblings. My friend ran out of the room while I did that and down the L-shaped hallway to her mom. I went after her and listened to her explain to her mom what happened, and I added that it was true, and she wasn't pretending. Her mom chalked it up to us being kids and making it up. We also checked, and neither of her siblings were home that day. This was the last experience I vividly remember, but not the end of the story. A couple of years after that, my family moved away. I lost touch with my friend. We never talked about the incident. Half because she didn't want to, and half because other things took precedent in my kid brain, I guess. Fast forward about 17-ish years later, my friend and I are adults now, and she moves out to the town that I live in. We agreed to meet and catch up. I am pretty forward, so I don't wait long to ask her about the things that happened. Through the years, I realized more and more how wild the experience was and told friends and family about it. I also looked up things like the doorknob moving to see if there was an explanation. I never found one. Anyways, my friend answered my question with a simple, "Yeah, I remember that." I was actually going to bring it up because there was a part of it you didn't know, but I wasn't sure if you'd be too scared to hear it. But yeah, I insisted I was fine to hear it. She told me that when we'd have a sleepover at her house, she woke up in the middle of the night every time and saw a shadowy woman with deep red eyes and something on her head, either a hat or a large bun hairstyle. She never ran to get her parents or screamed, and she still doesn't know why. She says she just put the blanket over her head and tried to fall back to sleep. She said that when I moved away, the lady stopped showing up. When her brother moved out to college, she took over his room in the basement. She uncovered a Ouija board in her closet while clearing out his old things, so she suspects that this is what caused the activity. I think she was worried the lady had attached to me and followed me out of state, but I never had an experience as intense as that one ever again. I sometimes experience waking up in the middle of the night and being touched or seeing shadows. Not sleep paralysis because I could still move during these times, but definitely something I chalked up to me being half asleep and possibly still dreaming a little. If you read this the whole way, I hope it was interesting for you. It's one of the wildest experiences I've had with the paranormal. P.S. My friend didn't remember talking to someone in the closet, but I distinctively do because of how bizarre she had behaved. It seemed like she wasn't all there at the time, so I'm not surprised. Hi, my name is Kat, and ever since I was a kid, my mom talked about me talking to ghosts. My mom has experienced the same thing, so has her mom, and it goes on and on with the women in our family. I've talked to relatives that have passed on along with seeing an apparition of them. My grandmother has since ignored it until I asked her about someone who claims to be her brother, and she talks about very harsh family details sometimes. He's active from 4 a.m. onward. Refuses to tell me a name. Well, backstory. Sorry for the rambling. I live with my grandmother, and I've had this issue for a while with this one thing. I guess I should call it that. At first, it was only appearing in photos. The energy vary in the house, and it makes it feel heavy. It stays in the basement bedroom, and when I go down there, it bangs on the door and tries to turn the door handle. Sometimes it growls in a deep voice, and in a deep voice goes, "Hello?" I'll hear breathing in my room sometimes, and my dogs, 3 German Shepherds, refuse to go into the basement and refuse to go into my room. I feel so angry all the time, and it follows me out of the house. I can tell because my eyes get watery. I feel heavy, and I get goosebumps along with just the feeling of something constantly behind me. This hasn't bothered me until it decided to mess with my Nana. My Nana is a sweet lady that doesn't need any issues with the paranormal. Well, the other night she woke up with feeling of being choked and seeing something stand above her bed. She closed her eyes and said the Lord's Prayer, and it went away. She has me go downstairs now to do laundry, fold the clothes, and clean up. I do not mind at all. Well, I guess I messed up pretty bad because I finally saw the apparition in daylight. It's always been a feeling, or only seeing it at night. It was standing in the corner staring at me as I was folding laundry, and I immediately got angry at it for messing with my Nana. So I looked at it and went, "You know what? Fuck you. You're just one big spooky pussy-ass ghost. I'm gonna kick your ass for fucking with my Nana, you little bitch. Just fucking watch me do it." I turned my back to it so I can load the washer, and the bedroom door slammed shut. Now every night it watches me sleep and keeps reaching out to me, trying to touch me. So, this is my first time posting. I'm always reading through all the stories, and it's about time I told mine. Also, I'm kind of new to this, so apologies now, because this could be long, but you're in for one hell of a journey. I'll give you a little backstory. So from the age of 20 to 25, I am now 27. I worked in a very old nursing home that used to be a farmhouse, slaughterhouse in the 1800s, and it's in the middle of nowhere. I worked night shifts with my best friend and flatmate. There was one night where we were short-staffed, so there was only me and my friend, healthcare assistants, and one nurse. It's a 38-bed home at full capacity. There's an old side and new side. Old side been there since 1800s, and the new side has been there since 2008. The nurse is doing a sleep-in during shift, so is asleep on the new side of the building. 2:45 a.m., we start doing our rounds, checking the residence. Me and my friend never leave each other's side. We are both terrified of the old side of the building. It just has a dark energy and heaviness, like someone's sitting on your back. We start on the ground floor, working our way bottom end of the corridor to top. Before going up the back stairs, we leave empty cups at the top of the corridor by the lift. 6 cups. We make our way up the stairs, starting from 11A round to 18. Room 11A is basically room 13, but the owner refused to have the number 13 room. We leave room 15 till last, as we would go down the back stairs in the kitchen next to that room. We go in to check a resident, offer fluid, fill out paperwork. I'm standing by the bedside. My friend sat in the chair. Time check. 3:33 a.m. We both look at each other and make a silly, ghostly sound. I will never mock again. I feel cold breath in my ear and a dark growl. I freeze, my friend turning pale as she sees the room get very dark around me. We both calmly exit the room. We take the back stairs down into the kitchen, right out the kitchen door into the smoking area to process what the hell just happened. Neither of us knowing what to say. We had heard noises and stories from others but laughed it off. We go back in to collect the cups by the lift. I shout out to my friend to come see what I'm seeing. 6 cups we left. There was now 4. She opens the kitchen door to me, and 1 cup lifts up and is thrown down the corridor to meet the other 2. I must tell you now, no residents on that floor were mobile, and only staff can access through the doors. We're the only staff there. The nurse is still asleep on the other side of the building. We walk down the corridor, collect the cups, and go back into the kitchen. Put the cups in the sink, and there's a flickering shadow like a moth round a light bulb. There is no moth in sight, no windows open. We went back to the sitting lounge where we waited for what we felt like days for the morning. We haven't told many people of this story, as I know it sounds absolutely crazy. I never slept for a while, kept waking up having strange dreams, feeling dark energies around me. My boyfriend woke up one night, shaking me and shouting at me, saying there was a tall woman with a hood hanging over me. He doesn't believe anything like this and is very closed-minded when it comes to these things. He was nearly crying with fear. Another dream I had was a sort of astral projection. I could see myself asleep, and I can also see myself sat on the floor at the bottom of the bed with my head in my hands crying. I suddenly am back in my body, being dragged out of bed by myself, reaching for my phone under my pillow to call my friend in her room. I wake up. with my phone in my hand, open on her contact. I put on all the lights and go into her room to sleep with her. I am terrified of having another dream like that, and I now hate sleeping alone. Me and my friend were always into the paranormal, watching shows on TV, always trying to debunk things or trying to contact something. My friend has done a Ouija board since. I'm not sure if I want to mess with it. I want to know what that was I felt or who it was. What I still feel sometimes, the reason I walk a little faster down the corridors. Since leaving the nursing home, I have become very spiritual with myself, not as in God, but with protection, putting salt at my front door, burning sage, dragon's blood, anything to keep that sort of negativity out. Hope you enjoyed my experiences. I definitely didn't, but it feels a little better to tell you here, to people that understand. If anyone has any advice or questions, I'd love to know. Hi everybody, it's Curious Raven. I will like to explain to y'all that I do have merch and a Patreon. I haven't really figured out much about what I'm going to do on Patreon. More people that sign up and help support the channel, I'm willing to take suggestions. You can also email me any stories that you have that's paranormal or weird, and I would love to consider it being on my channel. My email is down below. Just email me or on Instagram. Those are the two main ways to contact me. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Only 50% of y'all are returning subscribers. So all those new people out there that are not subscribed but still come back, I would love for you to subscribe to the channel. And remember, you have to click on the little bell icon for YouTube to let you know that you are still interested in my content and want to hear it. Alright, until my next one, remember, it's scary out there.